The sun painted the sky with hues of gold. It was a stark contrast to the darkness they had faced. Jennifer and Jett Johnson stood on Coronado Beach. The 4th of July was here. It was a day for celebration, but for them, it was a reminder. They had been through a trial by fire. Their city had been on the brink, but they had held the line. Jennifer's auburn hair caught the light. Her green eyes, usually sparkling, held a weight. The past days had taken their toll. Yet, she stood tall. She was a beacon of strength. Jett, her brother, stood beside her. His COO title was more than just a job. He was her protector. His jaw was set, a familiar determination etched on his face. They had faced Anton Virelli's wrath. His cyberattacks had threatened to cripple their city. Their company, Johnson Tech, had been in the crosshairs, but they had fought back. With faith and technology, they had repelled the attack. The victory was hard-won. It was a testament to their unity. Their team had worked tirelessly. They had put their lives on hold, but they had triumphed. The fight had brought them closer. It had forged a bond of steel.
It's beautiful. Hard to believe what we've been through. It feels like a lifetime ago. Narrator Jennifer nodded.
But the scars were still fresh. The memory of Virelli's threats lingered. They knew this wasn't over. They were the guardians of San Diego. Their family legacy was intertwined with the city's fate. Johnson Tech was more than just a company. It was a symbol of innovation, a beacon of hope, and Virelli wanted to destroy it all. They had to be ready. Virelli was cunning, he was ruthless. He would be back. It wasn't a matter of if, but when. But they would be ready. They would be stronger. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but they wouldn't falter. They couldn't. The safety of their city rested on their shoulders. They were the first line of defense, and they wouldn't back down. A gentle breeze swept across the beach. The waves crashed softly on the shore. It was a moment of peace, a brief respite from the storm, but they knew it wouldn't last. The enemy was out there, lurking in the shadows. They had to use this time wisely. They had to prepare. They had to anticipate Virelli's next move. They had to be one step ahead. Failure was not an option. The stakes were too high. Jennifer took a deep breath. The salty air filled her lungs. It invigorated her. She would not be broken. She would not give in to fear. She would face the future with courage, with faith, with her brother by her side. The sun climbed higher in the sky. The golden light seemed to envelop them. It was a sign, a promise of a brighter future. They would not be defeated. They would stand firm. They would protect their city. Coronado Beach was a sanctuary. The gentle roar of the waves, a soothing balm. Families dotted the sand, their laughter carried on the breeze. Children built castles, oblivious to the battles fought in the digital world. Jennifer and Jett walked in silence. The warmth of the sun seeped into their bones. For a moment, the weight lifted. The scent of salt air filled their lungs. It was a familiar comfort, a reminder of their roots. This city was in their blood. They would protect it, no matter the cost. They reached a small cafe. It was a local favorite. They had come here for years. The familiar sights and smells brought a sense of normalcy, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past days. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Their respite was temporary. Virelli's shadow loomed large. They had to stay vigilant. They couldn't afford to let their guard down, not even for a moment. Their enemies were always watching, waiting for them to slip. Inside the cafe, their team awaited. Tom, their head of security, stood as they entered. His eyes were watchful, constantly scanning their surroundings. He had been with the Johnsons for years. His loyalty was unwavering.
Jennifer, Jett, glad you made it.
Sheriff Carter sat at a table by the window. His gaze was fixed on the street. He was a man of action, a seasoned lawman who had seen it all. But even he seemed on edge. This threat was different. It was insidious, invisible to the naked eye.
It's quiet out there, too quiet.
Rachel Kim, a community leader, greeted them with a warm smile. Her composure was a stark contrast to the tension in the room. But behind her calm exterior, Jennifer sensed a steely resolve. They were all in this together.
We can't afford to let our guard down now, not after everything we've been through.
Whispers of their recent victory had spread, but the fight was far from over. They had struck a blow against Virelli, but they had wounded a beast, not killed it. David Morales, their lead tech engineer, joined them. His mind was a whirlwind of code and algorithms. He was their best defense against Virelli's cyberattacks. He had worked tirelessly to shore up their defenses.
I've reinforced our firewalls, but we need to stay vigilant. Virelli won't stop until he's found a way in.
They were a team, bound by loyalty and a shared purpose. They came from different worlds, but they were united against a common enemy. Their determination was palpable. They would not be broken. The cafe, usually bustling with life, seemed eerily quiet. The weight of their responsibility pressed down on them. The fate of their city rested on their shoulders. But they were ready. They had faith in each other, in their mission, and in the knowledge that they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. They were fighting for their city, for their future. S5, we're stronger together. We just need to keep pushing forward. The aroma of coffee hung in the air, a thin veil over the tension that crackled between them. Jennifer took her place at the head of the table. Her eyes swept over her team, each face etched with a mixture of fatigue and resolve. Jennifer Johnson, we have a problem. There was no need for pleasantries. Not today, not with the threat they faced.
Virelli left a back door. He's still out there watching our every move.
The news hit them like a punch to the gut. They had won a battle, not the war. Virelli was playing a long game, and they had walked right into his trap.
He can't get away with this.
David, usually calm and collected, slammed his fist on the table, his eyes burning with a cold fury. Jennifer Johnson, he won't. But we need to be smarter. We need to anticipate his next move. The weight of responsibility pressed down on them, but they would not crumble. They would not yield, not while their city was at stake. The cafe, a place of comfort, transformed into a war room. Maps, diagrams, and lines of code covered the table, a visual representation of the digital battlefield they fought on.
Virelli is targeting our critical infrastructure, she explained, her finger tracing a path on a map. Power grids, communication networks, traffic control systems. He wants to bring the city to its knees.
Fear, cold and sharp, pricked at Jennifer's heart, but she pushed it down. Fear was a luxury they couldn't afford, not now.
We need to reinforce our defenses, he said, his voice tight. David, can you isolate the back door? Trace Virelli's signal?
I'm on it, he muttered, his eyes glued to the screen.
The air crackled with tension. Every second counted. Virelli was a ghost in the machine, lurking in the shadows of the digital world. But they would hunt him down. They would bring him to justice. Jennifer, her eyes fixed on the map, strategized. They had to be one step ahead. They had to anticipate Virelli's next move. Their city, their home, depended on it.
We need to warn the public, he said, his voice gruff but laced with concern. Get them prepared for a potential shutdown.
Jennifer nodded, her jaw set.
Rachel, handle the press conference, she instructed. Keep it factual but calm. No need to incite panic.
Consider it done, she said, her voice steady.
They were a team, united against a common enemy, each playing their part in this high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The fate of San Diego rested on their shoulders, but they would not falter. They were its protectors, its shield against the darkness. They were the Johnson family, and they would not let their city fall. As the team finalized their plans, a sense of grim determination settled over them. They were going into battle, a battle fought not with bullets and bombs, but with lines of code and firewalls. The sun, shining brightly outside, seemed oblivious to the storm brewing within the cafe walls. But Jennifer, her eyes hardened with resolve, knew the truth. The calm before the storm was over. The real fight was about to begin. Jennifer addressed her team, her voice unwavering.
Virelli underestimates us, she stated, her gaze sweeping over each determined face.
San Diego was more than just buildings and infrastructure.
We faced challenges before, he reminded them, his voice firm.
Their family had been a part of San Diego for generations.
This town's got grit, he added, his voice gruff but laced with pride.
He had seen the city at its best and its worst, and he had no doubt that they would overcome this challenge.
Our community is our strength, she affirmed, her voice calm and steady.
They had faith in their city, in its people, and in their ability to weather any storm. Jennifer, her gaze fixed on the distance, drew strength from within.
Our faith has seen us through dark times before, she murmured, her voice laced with quiet conviction. It will guide us now.
The Johnson family had always found solace and strength in their belief. It was their anchor in the storm.
Psalm 23, verse 4, he quoted, his voice a low murmur. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
Their faith was not just a Sunday ritual, it was a living, breathing part of their lives.
I'm not a religious man, he admitted, his voice hesitant. But I believe in what we're fighting for. I believe in this team.
He might not share their faith, but he shared their commitment to protecting their city.
We may not all pray the same way, but we all share the same hope, the same belief in a brighter tomorrow.
Their unity transcended their differences. It was a testament to the power of a shared purpose. The team shifted focus, their attention turning to the digital battleground.
We need to fortify our defenses, he stated, his voice sharp and focused. Virelli's attack will be sophisticated, multi-pronged.
We need to protect our critical infrastructure, he stated, his voice firm. Power grids, communication networks, financial systems. These are our lines in the sand.
Their company, Johnson Tech, was at the forefront of cybersecurity. They would use their expertise to safeguard their city.
We need to anticipate his moves, cut him off at every turn.
He had spent years studying criminal minds, anticipating their next move. This digital battlefield was no different.
We need to control the narrative, she emphasized. Keep the public informed, but prevent panic.
Information was power, and they would use it to their advantage. Jennifer, her gaze resolute, drew a deep breath.
We are not alone in this fight, she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. We have allies, partners, friends who stand with us.
The city of San Diego had always been known for its collaborative spirit. This crisis was no different.
We have the support of law enforcement, government agencies, and tech companies across the country, he reminded them. We are part of a network, a united front.
They were not just fighting for San Diego. They were fighting for the very soul of the digital world.
Virelli may have underestimated our resolve, but he won't underestimate our reach.
They had connections, resources, and the unwavering support of those who believed in their mission.
This is not just a battle for our city, it's a battle for our future. And together we will win.
Their unity was their strength, their faith, their shield, and their determination, their weapon. They were ready for the fight ahead.
We'll stop him, Jen. We always do. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues. The air, still warm from the day's celebrations, carried a hint of unease. Jennifer and Jett, their moment of respite over, returned to Johnson Tech. Their headquarters, a towering testament to their family's legacy, now felt more like a fortress, a bastion against the unseen enemy lurking in the digital realm. The atmosphere inside was electric, a controlled chaos of activity and purpose. Technicians hunched over glowing screens, their fingers dancing across keyboards. Security personnel, their faces etched with vigilance, patrolled the corridors. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Jennifer's shoulders, but she would not buckle. Not now. Not when her city needed her.
His confidence, though unwavering, did little to ease the knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. Virelli was playing a dangerous game, and they were running out of time. As they entered the command center, a hush fell over the room. All eyes turned to Jennifer, their leader, their shield against the storm. She met their gaze, her own unwavering. Jennifer, let's get to work. They had a city to protect. Before the storm of data and code engulfed them, Jennifer called for a moment of quiet, a moment to gather their strength, to reaffirm their faith. She bowed her head, her hands clasped tightly together. The weight of the city, of their responsibility, pressed down on her. But she would not falter, not while there was still hope. Jennifer, Heavenly Father, we stand before you today, humbled by the task ahead. We are but instruments in your hands, seeking guidance and protection. Her words resonated in the silence of the room, a beacon of hope in the face of uncertainty. Jett, his head bowed beside hers, echoed her prayer.
Grant us the wisdom to see the path ahead, the courage to face the challenges that await us, and the strength to protect those entrusted to our care.
Their faith was their anchor in the storm, their shield against the darkness. Around the room, heads bowed, hands clasped, her team joined their prayer, each in their own way, seeking solace and strength from a power greater than themselves. For a moment, the weight lifted, replaced by a sense of unity, of shared purpose. They were not alone in this fight. The moment of peace faded, replaced by the harsh reality of the situation. Data streams scrolled across the screens, a dizzying array of numbers and code. Virelli's digital fingerprints were everywhere, a constant reminder of the threat looming over their city. David, his brow furrowed in concentration, pointed to a cluster of data points.
He's targeting the power grid. If he succeeds, the entire city will go dark.
The thought sent a chill down Jennifer's spine. A city plunged into darkness was a city vulnerable. Tom, his gaze fixed on a security feed, muttered,
We're picking up increased activity at several key substations. He's got boots on the ground.
The realization sent a jolt of fear through Jennifer. This wasn't just a digital attack. It was coordinated, calculated, and terrifyingly real. As the team scrambled to counter Virelli's moves, a seed of doubt took root in Jennifer's mind. Could they stop him? Could they possibly anticipate all his moves, counter all his attacks? The weight of responsibility felt crushing, but she pushed the doubt aside. There was no room for fear. Not now, not ever. The air crackled with tension. The hum of servers intensified, a digital heartbeat echoing the urgency in their chests. Jennifer watched the clock, each tick a hammer blow against the silence. Midnight, the witching hour. Virelli's chosen time. David announced, his voice tight, eyes glued to the screen. A cascade of red alert messages flooded the monitors, each one a siren in the digital night. Lines of malicious code, writhing like serpents, attacked their defenses. S5. He's starting.
Target a city power grid.
Rachel confirmed, her voice calm despite the tremor in her hand. Images of San Diego flickered on the main screen, the city lights a constellation against the encroaching darkness. Jennifer drew a breath, steeling her nerves. The moment of truth was upon them. Isolate the attack vector, she commanded, her voice sharp, unwavering. David reinforced the firewalls. Tom, deploy our countermeasures. We need to buy time. The battle had begun.
He's in the system.
David shouted, his fingers flying across the keyboard, a desperate dance against the relentless digital assault. The first line of defense, their firewall, crumbled under the sheer force of Virelli's attack. It was more sophisticated than they had anticipated, more ruthless.
He's targeting the main transformer stations. If he succeeds, we'll have a citywide blackout.
Rachel reported, her voice tight with concern. The consequences of failure were unthinkable, plunging San Diego into chaos and fear. The room crackled with the energy of a dozen minds working in unison, their collective will pitted against a faceless enemy. Jennifer felt a bead of sweat trickle down her temple, the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders. But she refused to yield to despair, not while her city needed her. David, can we isolate the affected sectors? We need to contain the damage. Every second counted, every line of code a matter of life and death.
He's anticipated our every move. We're fighting a ghost.
Virelli was always one step ahead, his digital phantom taunting them with its elusiveness. But Jennifer refused to be defeated.
There's always a way.
She turned to Jett, his face grim but determined.
Jett, what about our off-grid backup systems? Can we reroute the power? It's a long shot, but it's our only option. We need to buy David some time to trace Virelli's signal.
They were running out of options, but they would not surrender. Not while there was still a fighting chance. The fate of their city hung in the balance, a digital tightrope walk between darkness and light. They had to make their stand. S1, do it. The seconds stretched into an eternity, each tick of the clock, a hammer blow against the silence. Jennifer held her breath, her gaze fixed on the screen. Lines of code scrolled, a digital battlefield where the fate of San Diego hung in the balance. Then, slowly, the tide began to turn.
Got him. Virelli's signal is isolated. Firewall re-engaged.
Relief washed over Jennifer, so potent it almost buckled her knees. They had won. Against all odds, they had repelled the attack. The city lights, flickering precariously moments before, stabilized. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the command center, a symphony of exhaustion and triumph. San Diego was safe, for now. Jennifer leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the victory wash over her. But even as she savored their hard-won victory, a sliver of unease remained. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. A new day was dawning, but for Jennifer and her team, there was no time for rest, no time for celebration. The threat, though subdued, still lingered. Virelli was out there, licking his wounds, plotting his revenge. As the team began to dissect the attack, searching for clues to Virelli's next move, a chilling realization dawned on them. This wasn't just about disrupting their company, about plunging the city into darkness. It was about something far more sinister, far more personal.
He was targeting specific data streams, data related to our family's history, our philanthropic work, even our personal lives.
A cold knot of fear tightened in Jennifer's stomach. Virelli wasn't just after their technology, he was after them.
He's playing with fire. He's crossed a line.
This wasn't just business anymore, it was personal. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the city, Jennifer made a decision. They would not live in fear. They would not let Virelli dictate their lives. They would fight back, and they would win.
We need to up our game. We need to be one step ahead of him, anticipate his every move.
They had the resources, the technology, and the unwavering support of their team. But most importantly, they had their faith. The battle for San Diego might be over, but the war was far from won. Virelli had awakened a sleeping giant, and they would not rest until he was stopped. The 4th of July fireworks, a distant echo in the night, served as a reminder of the fragility of peace, the constant threat that lurked in the shadows, but also a reminder of their strength, their resilience, their unwavering commitment to protecting their city, their family, their way of life. The fight was far from over, but they were ready. S1. This isn't over. We will find him and we will bring him to justice.